Charlie Chaplin was a British actor and director, best known for his slapstick comedies. But he was also a vicious, rage-filled, greedy megalomaniac who relentlessly mistreated his teenage wives and children. Although the British film legend's birth certificate has never been located, it is widely acknowledged that he was born on April 16, 1889. Celebrity birthdays are entirely unimportant, but many have noticed that the beloved Aries was born precisely 4 days before another well-known person, with a toothbrush moustache, Adolf Hitler. The two are frequently contrasted, despite the fact that Chaplin's ludicrous facial hair was paired with a sense of slapstick, and not just because the tyrannical director parodied the oppressive leader in a 1940 movie. Charlie Chaplin was born into poverty in South London, the son of a deadbeat father and a mentally ill mother. His life was a classic example of a rags-to-riches success tale. The diligent, illiterate young Chaplin spent his formative years performing as a clog dancer, in and out of relatives' homes and workhouses, before studying physical comedy with the renowned British comedian, Fred Karno. The biography Charlie Chaplin, A Brief Life, by Peter Ackroyd from 2014, claims that Chaplin advanced from there to become the most famous man in the world by the age of 26. In addition to earning a sizable Hollywood paycheck and commanding respect and adoration despite being only about 5 feet 5 inches tall, Chaplin's intriguing past made it possible for him to sleep with, on average, 2,000 women throughout the course of his lifetime. These women suffered the brunt of Chaplin's selfish, controlling, and harsh attitude, along with the children some of them carried him, despite the fact that as a boast this is offensive, and as a reality it may be unimportant. It appeared that Chaplin's Chaplinitis, or Chaplinoia, swiftly got to him as the general public's did. According to Ackroyd, Edna Purviance, a 19-year-old actress Chaplin hired, after seeing her advertisement in the San Francisco Chronicle, was one of the first women to encounter this. They soon went beyond co-stars, but Chaplin's commitment to his career trumped his devotion to his fiancée. For example, when he went to New York, according to Ackroyd, Chaplin refused to correspond to her, and was shocked when she began seeing another man. In the era when Chaplin's habit at parties was to imitate the manner in which the leading ladies of the day might experience orgasm, Ackroyd says, Chaplin's subsequent conquest occurred. It was Mildred Harris, a 16-year-old starlet, who was even younger, who shortly told him she was expecting his child. Chaplin set up a marriage, which took place in October 1918, because he was both anxious about the idea of taking on domestic responsibilities and afraid of a scandal. The pregnancy turned out to be a hoax, or false alarm. Ackroyd claims that Chaplin quickly began to regret the whole situation. He believed Harris had duped him into getting married, and thought she was embarrassing, a poor actress, and no mental heavyweight. With her, he would frequently leave the house for days at a time without informing her of his plans, and would be abrupt and grumpy. She experienced a psychological breakdown after she actually became pregnant with his child, partly as a result of his mistreatment. In 1920, the same year that he and Harris went through a contentious divorce, Chaplin met Lilita McMurray, a 12-year-old, who would later go by the stage name Lita Gray, and eventually become his next wife. Despite admiring Gray, and even having a portrait of her painted, Chaplin waited to pursue her until she was 16 years old, and had a supporting role in his 1924 film, The Gold Rush. She too conceived outside of marriage. This time, the possibility of facing charges frightened Chaplin, and in November 1924, they were secretly wed. Prior to their 1927 divorce, which was caused by adultery and the failure of her profession, she gave birth to 2 of his children. The following union was Chaplin's most suitable, and least disastrous one. In 1932, he started dating the 22-year-old actress Paulette Goddard, with whom he'd have a respectable professional rapport until 1942. They probably married, but no one is really sure. The Great Dictator, a contentious 1940 movie, was the most significant project they collaborated on, before things soured between them. When tomb robbers in search of a ransom informed Goddard that Chaplin had passed away, she responded, "So what?" and slammed the phone down. With the help of Chaplin's matching moustache, the movie, one of his best-known and most significant, is sometimes seen as a direct parody of the titular Führer. But keep in mind that Chaplin wore that moustache for most of his career. It wasn't grown for the part. The dictator himself viewed the movie for his own private viewing twice, and he was not renowned as someone who welcomed a little of constructive criticism. The movie parodies Hitler as the absurd, frantically gesticulating adenoid Hinkel, yet it is also painfully sympathetic in certain aspects.
Und das Saukraut! Ey, der Fluten sagt der Fleppen! Und Tomenia wie ein Strapf! Und der Blitzen sagt der Klutz! Ey, ich blei noch straff mit der... Ballone war ein Stritz mit seinen Eltern, sagt der Kühn. Ein der Straff mit seiner Klatsch. Ey, der Stratz mit Sekretäten da. Mit seiner Tratsch mit Sketten. Meine Täter wieder straffen, die straffen, sie straffen.
The fourth time is the charm, as they say, so let's get back to the ladies. Chaplin married Una, the daughter of the Irish writer Eugene O'Neill, in 1943, despite opposition from the US government over his, allegedly, pro-communist and pro-war sympathies. Chaplin was 54 years old, Una was 18, and Eugene was the same age as Chaplin, and he was so enraged that he disinherited Una. Though they had a tumultuous relationship anyway. However, despite extensive criticism, the union endured until Chaplin's passing, produced 8 children, and was hailed as a union of true happiness. This evaluation is frequently used in biographies, in an effort to paint Chaplin as a womanizer, turned, wholesome husband. In actuality, he was constantly devoutly seeking out the advice or assistance of his young wife, both on the set and in real life. This may be accurate, but Chaplin's rigid standards, outbursts, ferocious temper, and cruelty to his kids also strained their marriage. Brando claims that Chaplin humiliated his son in front of him and the rest of the company, while he and Sidney worked together on the 1967 movie, A Countess from Hong Kong. Sidney reportedly informed Brando that his father treated all his children this way. Sidney was also an actor. Brando was the target of Chaplin's wrath as well. Chaplin berated me, humiliating me, telling me that I had no sense of professional ethics, and that I was a disgrace to my profession, Brando wrote. In front of the whole cast. His error? 15 minutes late for the performance. In other words, Brando is a little more direct than more critical biographers, who portray him as an egotistical savant, who mercilessly used those around him. Chaplin was probably the most sadistic man I'd ever met, he writes.